fly blind tonight. Thank you, Hector. So what we'll do today is we'll go ahead and have the mayor open up officially the meeting. We're going to go through a couple of just parts of the agenda, and then we'll just jump into the workshop that we have planned for you all today.
Well, thanks everybody for taking the time, and thanks for the pizza. That always makes it easier. You know, it's in our charter that we have a summit meeting every 5th Wednesday, which there are 4 per year. And it seems like a good idea to use those 5th Wednesdays to convene as a group so that we can, you know, I just asked Donna about a question about the skate park, and not knowing that just is a demonstration that one of the great things that can come from these meetings is just to learn what everybody's doing and how we can support each other. So I don't want to take up much time because there's such rich content in this presentation, but just to say that our hope is to keep these going and for us as a group to kind of drive the agenda moving forward for these ongoing meetings. We've done these in the past, and they've included other community leaders, and hopefully we can get to that point again, but we always do better when we know more, and this is a great way to do that. So I hope you can take a look at your calendar for the rest of the year and look to see what those 5th Wednesdays fall on, and make a point of joining us for this great meeting. And then second, I want to thank the staff for doing an incredible job putting this presentation together. They've been, you know, gleaning information for quite some time from a lot of different sources, and the presentation tonight really is just an incredible way to get this whole thing started with the basics. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So to start us all off, we're going to set the audio. We're going to set the audio and then go to call to order and roll call.
Okay.
All right, so on the count of 3, we're all going to do a single clap together to show that we're very good at following instructions. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And Mayor, we'll hand it off to you.
Just when I put pizza in my mouth. All right, so I will call the Talent City Council study session of March 30th to order at 6:16. Roll call, please.
Councilor Clark. Here. Councilor Panama.
Here.
Councilor Ryder.
Here.
Councilor Bastide is absent. Councilor Byers.
Here.
Councilor Perry Miller.
Here.
And Mayor Roosevelt.
Here.
Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you. And should we acknowledge, for the record, the chairs?
I'd like to welcome Chair Donna Reeves. I'd like to welcome Chair Andre Lama from the Public Arts Committee. And excuse me, Donna Reeves is the Chair of the Parks and Rec Committee. I'd like to welcome Mr. Room from the Together for Talent Committee. And Mike Oxidine from the Urban Forestry Committee will be here a little later. And Climate Commission is not represented today.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the second item on the agenda is item 2.1, opportunity to translate meeting into Spanish. Hector?
This is for the public. If any attendee would like this meeting translated into Spanish, to please raise your hand now. Y si alguien está esta reunión en español, por favor, alce su mano hoy, and I'll watch the attendees for attendance.
Thank you, Hector. Keep that eagle eye out.
Item number 3 on the agenda is commission and committee chairs training. Staff?
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everyone, so much for being here. Before we start, I want to give a very large shout out to Hector and Lucero, who did all the team, and of course, the incredible Chelsea Fine, who is a new member to our team, who has been, you know, a powerhouse in helping make tonight happen, and all some other amazing things. For those that don't know yet, Chelsea is a new employee to us, well, over a month now, but who is our grant writer and also our committee commission coordinator. So she is here to help make your lives easier and make your work even better than what you're already doing by giving you all support. So excited to be here with you all. Today, what this kind of workshop is really about, what the summit is about, is we really want to get the opportunity to connect, as the mayor said, just to come back together as groups and recognize that we're all working together to make talent the way it is. We're going to center on our purpose. What is the role of committees? Why are they so essential to government, particularly here in talent? We also want to clarify and share some tools. We know it's been, particularly for the chairs, often shooting in the dark about what process to do when and how to get things done. So we're going to go for some clarity. We're going to do a little feedback to see what you guys would like in future sessions. Really play a hand in helping make this space and what you all would want to see. And of course, we want to have a little bit of fun doing it. I will share, today is mostly going to be listening, which is mostly why I bought the pizza, so you could be busy and, not too bored. But we'll have a couple exercises just to get the brain flowing and get to know each other a little better. To start us off, you all have a half green sheet of paper in front of you or inside your binder. I'm going to ask you guys to just write some questions, or answer some questions on that green piece of paper. Don't put your name. I will say this will be public record, so, keep it within the public decency. Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you. Would anyone else need a pen or would like a pen?
No, but I'll take some paper.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, first question is, really what excites you about being a committee or on a commission? Why did you sign up? If you're a council member, why are you a council member? Same question. What makes you anxious, if anything, about being on a chair or a liaison? And I want you to write a number down on that piece of paper. On a scale of 1 to 10, how capable you feel within your role. 1 being, who am I? Where am I? Who are these beautiful people? 10 being, I got this. I could run this town single-handedly. Once you answer your questions, go ahead and fold it into a paper airplane or flying device. That one I left off the screen, unfortunately. We'll call it an unidentified flying object, and that could be anything.
Like a lot.
The most effective flying tool. Yeah, there's city money attached to the prize. No. We'll wait until everyone creates their plane, and then we'll do the next step.
You'll need to declare conflicts of interest at this time.
Yeah. And also the liability waiver for when we throw them.
Anybody have safety goggles?
Yeah. I remember my grandfather was an engineer, and he would take forever to do things like fold a paper airplane. It was so annoying to do any projects. Not that all engineers are that way. Just the ones that live on Mortar Street.
I bet those planes would.
All right. I'm seeing some good folds happen. All right. Also, anytime you guys get more hungry or need a refill, please help yourselves.
Probably you're demonstrating some mad skills down there.
All right. So in about 10 to 15 seconds here, I'm going to count to 3. And on 3, we're all going to throw our paper airplanes, trying to get a flight into the said box in front of you. You can stand up. You can totally stand up. We'll get points. We gotta wait. It all has to be at the same time. So, I'm looking, I'm watching. We got one plane. Ooh, Charles's plane looks like it's on point. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. It's not how far you go. Alright. Here you go. Randomly draw things from the box.
All right. Stand up. Somebody put a paper clip?
The other thing I was gonna ask for.
That's advanced design, whoever did that.
Yeah, MacGyver right there. All right. So go ahead and unwrap your plane from the ether, and give it a read. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around in a circle, and we're going to share who we are, what commission or committee we're associated with, and something that struck you about the thing you're reading. Either you feel similar to that person, or you're surprised by their answer, the design of the plane, whatever struck you about it. But we'll go ahead and we'll start with the mayor.
So what was that last instruction?
Yeah, so you're going to say your name, what council or committee you sit on, or committee commission, and then something that struck you about what you just read.
Okay. My name is Darby. I serve as the mayor, and what struck me about what I read,
If anything stood out or felt akin to.
that it demonstrates very well what I think I've come to know and what I think the community has come to know about this individual.
Oh, I like that.
Were we supposed to put our names on?
No. Need a name for you.
It's like
Am I supposed to name the person?
You don't have to name the person, but maybe you could share the sentence that they wrote.
Sure. The answer to question number 1 is emergency preparedness and community involvement.
Yeah, so essential for what we're doing. All right, Councilor Pray Miller, yeah.
Okay, so my name is Colette, and I'm on council, and something that strikes me about this is that I feel about as capable as this person. Is that helpful?
Helpful. Love it. We'll keep going.
Okay.
All right, Aubrey, how about you?
My name is Aubrey. I'm the chair of the Town Public Arts Committee. This is our liaison. I know she didn't claim on the spot. I relate to this person for the number 1 said, like what excites you is the pride I have for town.
I think the next, the 3 is just number 6, I got to do number 7.
6 is good. 6. This is my quantitative data collection. Is I'm going to check all your numbers later and collect these out. Thank you, Charles. All right, Chelsea.
I'm Chelsea Fine, and I am little parties on everything. So I'm going to shift the board. So I think that connecting directly with my community and working with the team to keep them awesome because no one but us and the connection and that's probably that was probably the start of the first. And the anxiousness is potentially being correct without certain information.
Yeah.
So that's the other way is like it makes us all anxious that ways that way we do it, but I think part of my rule is that mistakes are okay and nothing, my grandmother used to always say, it's the IRS after you. No, grandma, I don't know what that fear is about. And she would say, is it even dead? And I'd say, no. And she'd be like, okay, this is fixed. So I'll make a series of shirts with grandma jean books because they're great. So that's
Thanks, Chelsea.
I'm Mama Byers, and I'm a council member and the liaison for the Parks and Rec Commission. And the thing that's standing out to me is this person's feelings about the process because they are not that far off on my own.
Love it. All right, Councilor Clark.
Yep. Councilor Clark, liaison to the Urban Forestry Committee. And this person's through number 1 talks about engaging with neighbors and residents to create the city we want to live in, to raise families and retiring. It's yeah, that speaks to me, and the engaging with neighbors and residents is really, you know, there's something different about public participation as opposed to not. And I think it starts with that. I'm going to engage with my neighbors and fellow residents. Trying to do something positive. So, yeah, shared motivation there.
Love it.
I'm a release chair on the rec. And for me, the thing that stood out was that number 2, like I said, just chair, is imposter syndrome. And I know I'm not alone in this. And I thought that was kind of release.
I'm Laura from the council. I also chair another committee, federal committee, and I'm voting for that one. So I can kind of relate as well. Just to talk about, the fun of your team and stuff we're doing, what you can relate to. Number 2, I think is a common thing, not having clarity about procedures, not knowing the right way to do things. And you hear that a lot. I'm just saying I can't relate to that. My greatest fear because, it's getting somewhere, not, my greatest fear, imposter syndrome definitely, but also, not reaching the potential of the team is more scary to me than messing up procedures because I guess because I've done it so many times and I'm still alive, it doesn't scare me.
Nicole, council member and very new liaisons together for talent. So it's very exciting. This person, for the second question, put the exact words that I put on my second question was, I don't know that I don't know the answers. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. What I just heard in that circle is 2 major themes that stuck out to me. 1, an incredible level of positivity and support. Was this echoed in all those comments and shared partnerships? And then 2, the question around processes, feeling like we're an imposter, just not knowing exactly what we're supposed to be doing and how. And it's really for those 2 exact reasons why we're here tonight, is to connect and support each other, and then 2, to give you all a little stronger base about the nuts and bolts of being a chair, so that you all don't have to focus on figuring out how to do the process. You can focus on the outcome, as Eleanor said. So tonight is just a time to take things in and knowing that we don't have to remember it all. It'll all be here the next time we want to revisit it. You all have a binder in front of you if you're a chair. That binder contains most of the information we'll talk about tonight. So you can always reference it, and it will come up with more edits, as this is also a learning process for us. So we're going to dive right in. I'm going to go ahead and cover, as the first part here. Hi, Mike, welcome. Feel free to grab pizza if you want it before you join, but you have to say your name and something you're proud of with Talent Urban Forestry. Yeah. Let me put you on the spot. Here. Well, welcome, Mike. This is a get pizza and salad anytime you need kind of a night, so help yourself. I'm going to dive into the first lecture of the night. How committees and commissions fit into government. So as you all know, there's a community in Talent. These are all the community people. And that community, they elect their city council. So city council really is representatives of the community, but they are 7 folks, 6 folks and the mayor, who are representing the voice of the entire community. And that's why our committees and commissions are so essential, because they play a huge link in helping raise the voice of community members to help council better understand and listen to what is wanted and needed by the community. So commissions and committees are really a core voice of the community within specialized areas. I think every council member here can agree there's no way that they could do their job well without the guidance of committees and commissions to give them feedback and help them know what priorities are. So the fun thing about commissions and committees is you all have got flavors, you all got specialties. We have our Parks Department with Donna, our planning, Felicia couldn't make it tonight, our planning department are Together for Talent, which is our sustainability focus group, Urban Forestry with Mike, Public Arts with Aubrey, and we also have a couple of commissions and committees that are not currently active, but are definitely also an important part of the picture around economic development, transportation, and then we have a whole set of advisory and ad hoc committees that kind of come in and out as needed, and as capacity is there. I was going to do another exercise with you all, but I'm going to go ahead and move us forward just for time tonight. But just want to recognize that in my short time being here, I've been here about 7 to 8 months now, I have seen so many amazing wins that our committees and commissions do. From planting the trees, from getting an entire group of people to organize our Project Parks Master Plan in the most beautiful spreadsheet I've seen. That survey was incredible. To public arts having the most collaborative, hand-in-hand relationship with so many of the artists in our community is just amazing to see. And Together for Talent, I am currently helping enact the clean energy plan that you all put together a year ago. So you guys make action happen, and that's what is so fun. So our goal is to help you keep acting to an even greater extent. Oh, I forgot to put in the fun gimmicks here, but that's okay. So even though you all have different topic areas, you all have incredibly similar roles as a committee. Really, you're there to help prioritize projects to council. You help to share new ideas. You provide feedback, like you all did on the citywide council goal setting, and you take action. From planting trees to holding events. You guys are an integral part of the community, as well as an integral part of a voice to council. Now you as chairs, you all have power in helping the committee implement their role. And the 2 main categories of power that you have, and I should say authority, it's not quite Spider-Man power, but you get to set the agenda. Setting the agenda is a really important tool. It's where you help the committee stay focused on what you're working on, major subjects, etc., as well as facilitation. So you're helping run those meetings, you're helping making sure that voices are heard, that discussion is had. And setting the agenda and facilitating are incredibly important for fostering collaboration and embedding equity. And I want to dive a little into that, but I want you to know whenever it comes to your role as committee or role of chair, you don't have to know it perfectly. We are absolutely here to help. Turns out my animations aren't working as planned. That was supposed to be a really cool segue, but hopefully it comes up later. So I want to just dive into what I mean by foster collaboration. Because a lot of times we use the word collaborate and it's mostly kind of a buzzword, you know. We all know from our life that just saying it doesn't make it so. And that's really the truth of collaboration. We've all had a lot of group project trauma in our life where we're trying to work together to get that grade, but, you know, it's not as easy as they say it is. When we're working in groups, we also have a lot of situations where people come to the table with agendas, right? And committees are here to hear different perspectives and hear all voices, and so it's really hard sometimes when you have folks push in one view. And you as chair, as part of yours, that's an impediment to collaboration, we'll say. And then there's also folks who, you know, it's easier to focus on themselves than to listen to what's going on. And you all as chairs are trying to counteract all of these situations to help everyone have their voice heard and get things along. Not an easy job. But that's everything that collaboration isn't. You know, what is truly collaboration? A lot of it is psychological safety. People feeling comfortable in the room to actually share their voices. Community members feeling good coming to share about their idea. You know, a lot of it is trust. Do we trust that we can say what we need to say and still all agree to the decision and the outcome? That's a huge part of building collaboration. Meeting efficiency is really important in collaboration. People only want to show up if they feel like they can get things done. Plus, this is all a volunteer effort. Thank you all for being here tonight and this time off. Having clear responsibilities is something we're working on right now, is helping clarify who does what on committees and commissions. And of course, active listening. This is a whole host of things. If you could do all these things, you'd be the perfect human, and I hope you're a teacher out in the world helping everyone. We're here to help in all these categories. We're here to help give you support on how to get the skill sets to be able to create a safe room for folks to talk in, for be able to know what your responsibilities are, etc. By no means is this a perfect from the get-go. Except for my brother, he was born the perfect human with pure stuff. And I also wanted to emphasize equity. Oh, the we're here to help bubbles, you guys are really killing me right now. That one accidentally got highlighted. So equity is really being able to understand how different communities experience different impacts, and then really designing the policy or the ways to make sure that each community has the same potential for outcomes. It's also about recognizing whose voice isn't present and changing things up. You know, and we've really identified you all as chairs, since you are the facilitators of your meeting, as a really important way to help us start embedding equity more strongly into the city process and policies. You know, so one thing that the council has identified and staff has identified is helping give you all training in that area, so that you understand what it means, but also how we can put it into practice. So that'll be a common theme coming up in the future. But in all of these areas, you don't have to be an expert. You know, this is a journey, and we're all starting here at the first inaugural summit. We, as staff and as Chelsea's role and your liaison is here, we're here to support you, to give you training, to give you opportunities to connect. So really, you all are doing essential work, and so we want to show you that value and give you the support you need. I have seen it with every meeting that I've been to, is you guys are all naturals at this already. Really what you need are processes, which is why we're going to have the mayor share with us the next step, which is some clarities around processes that we have currently had no idea how to do in the last few months, that now will have clarity and standardization. Before I dive into a quick movement break for you all, any questions on committees and commissions, why they're important, their role in a bigger meta level? Everyone was so excited after the airplanes, and now we're all kind of got the pizza sleepiness, I'm going to call it. It wasn't for a presentation.
Just in time.
I know. All right, let's do a 30-second stretch break. Grab more food or beverage if you need it, and then we'll switch brain gears to processes. It's not, please. I called them, and they're like, oh, please, I can feed 4 people.
There was a box. How many people got in the box? 2 or 3?
I think 4 got it in the box.
4, yeah.
Almost half.
I liked your article in the
Oh.
I should have went back and cut it out
Oh, that's so sweet.
I was going through stuff that was going back in the house. Years there, but I was going through random, like.
Do you want to sit here? You want me to just drive for you?
Yeah, I can drive. So, but how the question, like, what did you come out?
No one has like her all the directions, not ours.
They're
Other than
really
this,
cool.
like,
Okay. And then here we go.
an actuary of.
That's the one.
First, we'll go, this is everything that's in their binder.
Yeah.
And then it's these two that we're going to talk about tonight.
Great.
Yeah. I will want them eventually. Yeah. Public record, baby. We have one more exercise with them.
So we lost our starter in the move, our sound.
Yeah. How did it die?
We just don't know. I don't know. The move was really heavy and hard, and
Yeah.
I have no idea. Either got too hot or too cold.
Yeah.
So.
Believe it or not, I made a big deal out of getting my sourdough.
No, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I gotta test my own knowledge. Man.
But I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah's like, she's now feeling good enough to start. She makes a lot of big bagels.
Oh, I need to meet her. Yeah, she and I need to get together.
I will. I promise. Thank you, Nicole.
I can say that I'm salad and resident.
That's right. A little crusty.
It's all at once, so it's just together.
Oh, when you guys said dairy free, I'm like, I was going to give them the whole vegan works. All right, folks, welcome back. Yeah.
I love it, but
No, I actually, admittedly, am just piecing together pieces from what I used to do at Water Bureau. Ooh, it's kind of nicer with some mood lighting. Yeah, me too.
Movie
Actually, let's
theater.
keep it dark,
Yeah.
please. All right, guys. All right, we had a trivia question over the break that we're going to answer before we transition to the mayor. Can anyone here name the difference between a commission and a committee? We'll give Mike the first chance, and then we'll go to Councilor Panamaroff and then the mayor.
Committee members get paid really well for what they do. Commissions don't get paid at all.
Oh, that sounds fair. Yeah. All right, Elder.
I think that the commissions get staff. Do staff on it and the committees do not?
Yeah, I will maybe go into the reason why. Mia, did you want to add to that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So, from Googling, my Google knowledge technically a commission has decision-making power in typical settings. They're usually made up of people who are already part of a decision-making team, and it's a subset of them. Whereas a committee historically is just a recommending body. Here in Talent, the way our charter works is both our commissions and our committees are recommending bodies. We staff our commissions because they're usually on topics that are really deeply intertwined with the work that the staff is doing. So the Parks Commission, for example, ties directly to what our Public Works does every day. The Planning Commission ties directly to what our Planning Department does every day. So really the definition for talent is the difference is having a staff liaison as well as a council liaison.
Is there a difference between if it was an ordinance or if it was a resolution?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one. I'll have to dig deeper and then let you all know.
Does somebody have more rules than
ordinances are much more permanent than resolutions, we'll put it that way.
And in the City of Talent, with all of the committees and commissions, they're all ordained but one, right? All of them have ordinances, but Together for Talent, and Together for Talent wanted it that way. So they were once not part of the city, and when I first became mayor, I begged, and they finally decided to come on board, but they would only do it by resolution. And they had really good reasons for all of that, so.
I know is there budgetary differences? I know there's documentation differences as to what it takes to become a commissioner person. Is that correct?
So far, I have not seen any budget differences, but I also have not gotten very deep in the records of that. Yeah, I think, as we'll learn tonight, so the second half of this meeting is really to provide some clarity on processes that we have just heard really consistently are missing, and that I myself struggle through in city council meetings of how do I raise these topics. So the mayor's going to share the processes that we've put in place now that will make it easier to do all these things and know what to do. For budgeting specific, Aubrey, commissions and committees, it will be the same steps and process for asking or requesting budget. Okay? I also thought the power of clear directions was really clever about 11:45 p.m. at night last night, but as it's become clear to me, we're providing you clear directions tonight is the goal.
Well, first let me start by saying that one of the most common comments I get when I'm in the region with other regional leaders is, just what an incredible job we're doing in talent. And I've often been asked what it is we do, and my answer is the same and has been for quite some time, and that is our superpower, is our committees and our commissions. This town uniquely, I think Senator Golden said it best when he said that talent typically swings above its weight, and we are able to do that because of the dedication and involvement of all the different committees and commissions that we have. And so one of the things that I wanted to point out before we jump into processes is that in the 20 years that I've served in the City of Talent, I've been on many of these committees and commissions, and I do recognize how inconsistent things can get from the turnover and all of those things. Those are all challenges that we have faced in all of those 20 years, and hopefully by getting together on a regular basis and creating some more continuity and having staff support in a role like I don't think we've ever had in Chelsea, that processes won't be so daunting. And it's a double-edged sword. The one thing I wanted to say about processes is that on the one hand, the state is very forgiving about committees and commissions and their endeavors to learn, the intricacies of running these meetings in accordance with state law. But on the other hand, there is state law that has to, and city legislation that has to be followed. So city rules and that sort of thing. And you can find almost all of it, I've found over the years, in your guiding documents, which are a reminder now. And that really helps direct the work that you do. And then as well in your bylaws. And I have visited those bylaws. I still visit those bylaws in your bylaws if you ever get kind of confused about things. And then also, I do want to mention too that we have a great parliamentarian among us in Eleanor. Yes, you are. She's being humble. But that's probably all it took. So in general, we run our meetings by Robert's Rules, and there's a great version of that called Robert's Rules for Dummies. I did not name the book, but it is one way that I learned, and so I do recommend that anybody who's wanting to master running a meeting and managing clarity, as you had mentioned, it does make for a really good meeting. So recommendations to council. One of the most important aspects of the committees and commissions is it's really our community's opportunity to engage our community in the process. And this council has long been really clear that recommendations from the committees and commissions are so important, and that they come to us with good, they come to us with good, clear narrative from the board, so that we understand from the council what the point was of the discussion was, and then that the recommendations are written verbatim, come to us verbatim. So the process that's laid out, and thank you for doing this, this is great to have these steps, is the committee and commissions passes a motion, and there's some instructions in your packet that talk about when a motion is made and when not, and that'll be touched on later in the meeting. So passes the motion, the chair emails the motion and a description to staff, and that's that important narrative that briefly describes why this decision was made. Aubrey?
So my question is, which staff, because sometimes I don't know, like, who am I supposed to keep on my emails, or CC, like, who do I go to exactly?
So you have that detailed in your binder now. It'll be your liaison, myself, and Hector.
Perfect.
And then staff prepares a staff report for the next council meeting, and that will include feedback from the staff, which is important. It gives them an opportunity to add their professional point of view, and also the narrative that's coming from the chair. And then council will receive that on our agenda. We'll receive that as part of our agenda packet with your motion. And then the council will deliberate and then decide on whether or not we accept the recommendation. We may modify the recommendation and accept it. And it's not very often that committee and commission recommendations are not accepted, but it does happen. And then finally, the liaison reports back to the committee, the discussion and the results. And I do want to add that there was a time during Don Stayskull's mayorship that he insisted that the chairs came before the committee or a representative came before the council with recommendations. I wouldn't insist on that, but I was around when that happened, and it did make for really great opportunity for the council to ask questions of the chair about what was the motivation, what's the history, and even though liaisons can answer most of that stuff, sometimes that's best represented by the chair. So if there's an important item, I really would encourage, like if there's a really significant substantive item that's coming to the council, that you may have all been deliberating on for a long period of time, and there's a lot of history. Sometimes it's good to get that one voice of continuity in the conversation as the council's deliberating. That's just a recommendation from this mayor.
Is there a basis? I think I remember doing that, and I appreciate that. Being able to ask questions. Is there possible for him to be back in person or something like that? Because we used to come forward and then he asked us questions. You know, it was like 2 minutes, but it was like then there was. To help you make a decision, there was more information you could have on the spot.
That's definitely.
Yeah, we're in this conundrum right now where the COVID restrictions are lifting, folks are coming back together again. What we're seeing with our Zoom meetings is we have much higher attendance from the public. And so we're seeing a lot of benefit of staying Zoom right now. So right now we are planning on staying Zoom for the foreseeable future, with sprinkling in opportunities for the public to come to a viewing room and hang out if they don't have access to technology. That's kind of the current plans that Hector and I have been discussing. On Zoom. We're figuring that out. We have some technical hurdles that we have to overcome on that one. Very open to that one. So it's still malleable and flexible. Yeah.
Good news. Because I support that as well, and a hybrid version.
Include in that email that we could be present for the meeting?
Yeah.
We send that and we say I can be present for that meeting.
What we'll do after Hector and I receive it, because Hector and I prepare the agenda packet, we'll write back and let you know the soonest council agenda we can get it on, and then you can always welcome you to attend, would be our point. Yeah.
So I do have a question. In my great big long last notes, the priorities was long, and it was detailed because I felt like I had it because there's a lot of priorities. So I gave you all that information. That's a lot of information that is difficult to put in to a little packet. Or maybe it's easier to put it in something smaller, and I just made it into something more detailed. But something as big as that, like trying to get, 20 priorities plus 5 in the process in front of somebody.
One thing that brings me a lot of joy in life is condensing things into short and sweet. So in that scenario, what I would probably do, send me what you have, and if you need to add any context, always welcome to add that in the email. What we'll do is when we create our staff report, we'll do a short summary and then attach, your list of priorities to that short summary. We always want to have council to have full information, and something like what the parks team did is they had a huge master list of projects that all the parks needed, and they prioritized that list. So we would include that as an attachment with some context around what you did and why you did it.
And I want to reiterate something that Georgia just said, is that by attaching the information that you send and by writing the motions verbatim, we're really hearing from the voice of the people, and that we want that very specific and particular language. So we want to have all the information from the boards, and we want to have the exact language. A word can change everything if we don't understand the intention.
And for this first few months, we'll get the draft reports out to you all to review to make sure we are capturing correctly what you shared. Mostly we'll just copy and paste exactly what you tell us. And if that's not great, then we'll edit it. But we'll figure out, as we all get into the rhythm of it, it'll get easier and easier as we do it. Yeah. Any more questions on recommendations to council?
I just want folks to know you can come to every meeting.
We do.
We do. All right. And the other hot topic right now that the mayor will speak on is requesting funds, because we're currently in budget season.
Yeah. So, first of all, this is an exciting opportunity for every committee and commission that has been elevated to the next level by the culture that the new leadership in City Hall is developing. And so in April, your committees and commissions should have by then decided which projects and goals they want to accomplish over the next year. And I have found over the years that an ongoing conversation that synthesizes at that period of time is really helpful. So even if you miss a deadline on any given year, start the conversation as you move forward, so that by the time you get to the ask, you guys have really well-defined goals and ideas about what you want to accomplish in the following year, and then how much money that's going to cost. In May, the estimation will be made on the project costs, and I would imagine that is a joint project between staff and committee and commission leadership. So don't feel like you're on your own on that one. A lot of times it's hard to estimate this stuff, and we have a budget officer on the team, and her team is our experts on this sort of stuff. So that would be a really important time to reach out. In June, use the recommendations process to submit a request to council for those funds. So we have a discretionary fund process where you have defined your projects, you've defined the dollar amount, and then you submit that in the form of a recommendation, and it comes to the council. And as part of the budget process, those funds are allocated or not, if for some reason the council feels that it doesn't meet the priorities or the goals of the community. However, I will say that I can't remember but one time where the budget was not allocated. I have seen where budgets get trimmed, but I have never seen it not allocated, except from us. And then in July, council determines how many funds to appropriate. So at that point in time, we do just as I described a moment ago. We appropriate the funds for the committees and commissions. And the other thing that's really great about this process, and I'm so glad it's coming back, is it motivates the committees and commissions to think ahead and create a plan and capture the significant funding that you need to make those plans work. It also informs us about the work that you're doing in a way that nothing else does. We get those plans and we can see where you're headed, and it's pretty exciting. It's pretty rich. Charles, you remember the days, when we did the discretionary funding, and it really does help. And you, I think, too, right? Yeah.
What I would say is, when your area commission asks for a large amount of money, we had the council had to vote on whether they would fund that or not fund that, and it was just two votes, and I think it was hard on our community because council couldn't see what they were talking about, and they had some ideas that they didn't put into detailed numbers, so that's very important for the detail.
It is, and so having had experience with it, when the plans are not detailed to a certain level, does make it difficult to allocate. So that's why the planning and the goal setting as a team it comes in, and it's really important. And working on that over time is helpful.
Can I jump in on that too? Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to invite you to talk about when something comes up that you haven't planned for.
Yeah. You'll see in your binder, there's a description of all the ways that we can get funding to your committees and commissions. So this budget process, right now, the annual budget process is the best way to request your large-scale funding for you to plan for the year. But then throughout the year, as opportunities come up, or as events come up, or something new arises, you can always do an ad hoc budget request. And so that means you come to the council at any point during the year, and can say, hey, we have this amazing project, this amazing opportunity, it's going to cost us this much, or we need this much to be able to partner with this grant. Council, will you consider appropriating funds for us? And council will then have the discretion to be able to move funds around to help fund that project. There's also a little tidbit of there about fundraising, because I know fundraising has occurred in the past. Fundraising is complicated just because there's a little bit more stricture around it and how that money can be used and when it can be used. So if you'd like to do a fundraising campaign, that's something that's great to partner with staff on to figure out if it is the right tool for raising the funds for the thing that you want to do.
Can I describe an example of that? So when I was on Parks, we used to have a recreation program, and we ran it for quite a few years. And we fundraised every year to create scholarships for the following year. So we raised as much money as we can on an annual, we had an annual event. We would raise as much money as we can, knowing that money wouldn't be available to the Parks and Recreation program until the next fiscal year, which begins July 1 of every year. Knowing it wouldn't be, so we did it in the spring, knowing it wouldn't be available to us until July 1, and also knowing that every bit of that money had to be spent on scholarships. It couldn't be spent on anything else. And so we would raise the money. It would, a single fundraiser would be allocated. The city would collect it, and then it would be allocated in a similar fashion as the discretionary funding, in that you raise $10,800 for scholarships, and that's how you can use it the following year. And it was successful. It was a little more complex, but it was a successful way to take control over a bit of the program that we really, really felt passionate about, which was being able to provide funding for kids to participate in the recreation programs if their families couldn't afford it. As a result, we had incredible participation for several years.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to mention is grants. Urban forestry in particular is incredible at the grant category. That's a great way to find funding for your projects. One of the beautiful things about Chelsea is she's also a grant writer, and so she's here to help as well. Mike, question though.
If we get donations from folks, we do tax deduction on 501c3 or nonprofit.
We're not a 501c3, and so we, from my knowledge, can't do tax deductions.
Is there a way the city can set up foundations that are good? Or?
Potentially, yes. Let me look into that and figure out how that would.
Can I speak to that first?
Yeah, on another
So really, what I would recommend is finding a partner nonprofit to accept those donations on your behalf, and then they can both give the receipt that the donor needs for a tax write-off, and simultaneously give it to you without any repercussions on their end for just giving money out, and you can spend that as you have set out in an MOU or whatever sort of documentation you want as a standing agreement.
And Talent Maker City has done that. And actually, I was part of the formation of the Talent Arts and Cultural Foundation, which was meant to be a foundation for TPAC. And I'm working on trying to get that back. Yeah. So, so there are a couple of organizations in town that will act as pass-throughs or have done that in the past.
And now we have
What's that?
Now we have another nonprofit in town.
Yeah, Road Climate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might be a perfect partnership for. It's
No.
Road Actions.
There are two, there's Road Climate and Road Action.
I thought they were both in there, yeah.
You share an office.
Yeah.
Road Climate is technically Phoenix, but for the Road Action Center is technically the home street off the office is here. But does that disallow if they have a Phoenix address? Does that matter?
No.
So I do think Road Climate would be a great partnership.
Yeah, I was going to say Road Climate, it's in Road Climate's mission. So that's the other thing, is that if what you're doing fits somebody's mission, it's a lot easier to ask for that service.
Yeah, I could connect
Say we had $10,000 donated to us from philanthropists or something. It goes through Road Climate sends a check to the city of town. And the city of town puts it into a fund that's dedicated for forestry.
Yeah, we'll have to work through that scenario. You know, the way that would work best is likely to tie that donation to a specific project.
I think you have to, because every time in the past, we told that money going forward because the town had to go into the general fund. And we wouldn't know about it except in the county of the general fund, and that was really for our purposes.
Yeah. You know, I'm willing to be a little bit more, I don't even know the right word. I'm comfortable making the cost centers to help us understand where our dollars came from and where they're meant to go for the general fund. Because we're talking about dollar amounts that are small enough that they don't really impact a huge amount on our budget, but are big enough to do some really good work here in Talent. But we can discuss those challenges as they come up, I think is the best plan.
Well, I'm saying that if there was some way you could change the method that it goes through, because on various times in the past, people thought about us having fundraisers, but the fact that we had to go through another organization complicated, and the fact that we could give it to if it goes to the city, there was no time for city.
Yeah, and this is a great topic we're all bringing up, and I'm going to have to just talk we have a new finance director getting on board next Monday, actually. So this is a great time to talk about this stuff. And I think, too, Mike, there's a lot of chance for co-sponsoring events with community groups is another way to get more flexible in those donation funds. But I'll look into it, and I'll get together with the mayor and think of some examples of what's been done in the past to help inform.
TPAC has a good example with the drain projects.
Yeah. So that one that'll be a little complicated because it ran from one fiscal year to the next, and so it actually came straight into us in the city, and it was they wanted to give to us to make this project work. So it did get a little complicated and then it ran into another fiscal year, so the funds had to be.
Yeah, my apologies. I thought the funds were directly. So I have seen it work where the funds go to a pass-through and not ever go to the city. They just directly sponsor whatever it is that you're working on. So somebody gives you $10,000 to buy trees, and it goes through a pass-through, and that pass-through buys the trees. And that's probably the easiest way to do it if you can establish a good relationship with a pass-through. And I'm sure Road Climate would be a good start for a conversation.
A couple of quick questions. So is the grant application process, like how we would receive funds from the grant application process, how is that different than how we would receive fundraising? Thank you for, we were told no fundraising for years, so I'm glad that this is even an option, but I know grants process is a little easier, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
So if you apply for a grant, does it go, would it just go directly into like TPAC, like TPAC apply for a grant for a project, and we would receive stuff for that? Would that like go into TPAC's budgetary funds or?
If it goes, so you would write the grant, you would receive funds. If you have not planned it as an expenditure, like you could set it and say, we applied for the grant in March, the funds just came in June 30th. But if you wrote it already into your budget because you're expecting it, Kurt and I talked about this, then you can write it into your next year's expenditure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Chelsea's talking about rolling over funds, which we can roll over funds year to year.
But I mean, you can, as long as it's in your budget, like if you're shooting for it, like, hey, it's coming, and it's in your budget, you can use it within that fiscal year.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna answer a different question that Aubrey's asking.
Yeah,
which
and
is
also there's a question of do we need to write which transfer we're going to, like as we're doing this process, May, June, do we need to write which transfer we're going to apply for the year?
no. So the way the grants work is, so the only person that can accept money and the only person that can spend money is the City of Talent. And it's technically only myself and the finance director. And the mayor has access to be able to expend city funds. So the way grants work is, technically you all as committee and commissions can apply for the grants. It's the City of Talent that's applying for the grant. So if we get awarded a grant, for example, we just got this Arbor Day grant. Arbor Day then submits a check to the city, and we deposit it into our general fund, is where we plugged that one in. But it's earmarked because we can only spend it on the specific reasons that the grant was written. And because of that, we have to do the grant reporting to show that we spent it in the way that we said we would. Whereas if we don't do that grant reporting, we then have to pay the money back. And so in that way, the money's earmarked. What Chelsea was referring to is, you don't have to worry about the rollover from, the July to the June transfer. We can always encumber and roll over funds as long as they're earmarked for a purpose. If we say we know we're going to spend it for this purpose.
You expect that by the time stipulated.
Exactly.
Project, and if you've written on a bond sheet and say it's going to be part of the next budget, so that's there, so that when it comes in, it's part of your expenditure already.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. So you can project it as part of your budget, so that if it comes in and you haven't said anything, it would need an amendment then to go in and reestablish.
I think where I don't want it to get complicated for you all as commissions and committees is I don't want you all to have to maintain and keep your own budgets.
Right.
It's
yeah. How do you find that out? I've been trying for a while to find out what do we have in the TPAC?
Yep.
What do we have in the TPAC fund? Is there an easier, more accessible, fluid way that we can do that without keeping our own notes and looking at the metric?
So one of the goals with this new finance director is to prepare monthly reports that will be presented to council, and they'll show line items of what's in specific funds. So that information, is forthcoming. We go ahead and we gave you guys the email address to our finance department. You can always give them an email and ask for, hey, can you give me an update of how much is in, the funds that were appropriated to us, what's left. The other thing I want to emphasize for budgeting, it's an art and by no way perfect, and you're budgeting now for something that's going to happen 9 months in advance. And as we know, a human can grow a baby in 9 months, so a lot can happen. So I really encourage you all to schedule a coffee with both Chelsea and myself. We'll treat you to a coffee, and we can talk about, what you're thinking in terms of budget-wise. We don't need it down to the penny. We need it down to the $1,000 range.
Or my master.
So that's what I was going to also say. Yep. No. So if it comes to master plans, so if you're a committee that oversees, master infrastructure in the city, that's not what we're talking about here. The city will always, we'll budget that as our capital budget. Thinking more things like if Parks wants to do an art in the park event, that's something to think about. If TPAC wants to do monthly art walks or the art exchange, you need funds to help make that happen. Planting trees, you guys have that down pretty well. That's the kind of stuff that, wouldn't typically fall in a city's budget, and so that's stuff we want named, so we can say, okay, we want to set aside, $3,000 to help host 3 art walk events, or whatever it may be.
And then that comes to the council as a recommendation.
Exactly.
And
And I put in my example here, we can't guarantee the council will be able to meet the funding requirements. So that's a great time when grants can then come partner in and help fill the gap for needs to help meet the goals.
And grants and other funding sources love matching scenarios. So oftentimes if you've appropriated $10,000 and you're telling whatever you're writing for that the city is matching $10,000 of it, it really leverages your ability to grow money.
Yeah.
Councilor Byers?
Grants are on task for the same way, but I think the council would be super interested in seeing it too, like what the project looks like as it scales, like the best case scenario, and then like what happens if you don't get all the money? Like what does that version of the project look like? And maybe a year or two. It's just really helpful for context and like letting the council know like is there a point where like the diminishing returns if they, or is there a point where like if you get this amount of money, it makes you competitive for matching grants because some matching grants like need X amount of the budget to be secured from other sources before they consider matching it.
And the last thing I want to encourage you, this is the pinch point every year, is to learn the purchase order process. It takes a long time to get reimbursed, and so if you're and it's complicated, so it's not a matter of you can just go out and purchase stuff for your committee. There's more to it than that. So if you take the time, it's in your binder, I saw it in the binder, to learn the purchase order process, it's just a matter of planning ahead, and it just goes so much better. Speaking from experience, the purchase order process works much, much better.
Yeah, our high recommendation is don't spend your own money. The government will always pay you back, but the government is not very fast at paying you back. So here on staff, we have credit cards for immediate emergency purchases. So if you're hosting an event and you forgot something, call me. I live 2 blocks away. I'll run to Ray's and get whatever you need. Or if we can plan ahead, we can go ahead and get an invoice from the folks you're buying from and make that purchase happen so you don't have to be involved.
You have a purchase order form.
We do. Yeah. And I have to admit that I need to get more solid on the purchase order form as well. I don't do much purchasing on my level, so I need to learn it too. The purchasing order form is not in the binder. I'm going to put that in my notes. We'll get you monthly budget statements and then purchase order forms.
And everything in the binder will be in PDF form, so you can download it on our website. So you will be able to access every document within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Print it to your first
Yeah.
If a committee or commission wanted to be ready for this budget cycle,
Yeah.
we're taking requests for this budget cycle, right? So, and this is exciting, y'all. This is what makes the difference.
That's what scares me, because I put all my eggs into a basket of master plan. So I have to quickly get some more eggs.
And we can get together and talk eggs, because I heard a lot of eggs when we did the brainstorming as a group. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ideas. I haven't done that level of detail like we did with the master plan.
Yeah.
So it's just making me proud.
Yeah. But know that this is all a learning process. Like, absolutely would love to encourage everyone to request funds this year, to go through the process, to have something in the bank to work with. But there are tools throughout the year that budgeting can be found and used. So it's not a one and done.
If you're not ready, I recommend that everybody at least pick one project, you know, like movies in the park. We're gonna do movies in the park this year, and you can probably have that ready by May, and if you need help, we're all here to help. But if nothing else, just pick one and then go from there. But if you be more ambitious, I would recommend it. Councilor Colette, my good friend Colette.
So on here where it says June, the recommendation process, I'm assuming like the beginning of June would be like the latest that you'd want to get these, just thinking about.
Yes, really, because this is all kind of coming in at a scrunch time of year. Also, my first time going through talent budgeting. As long as I have a general concept of the ballpark that you'll be asking, you know, we can have those requests come in towards the mid-June area. And we can always reappropriate them after the budget gets passed. But if you want to be in the first printed and minted copy of our budget, early June is the best.
Okay, so in 4 prior years, we submitted our budgets to the council and budget, and then there was a meeting where the applications were reviewed.
Yeah.
But it was generally done on a second, put aside for the only subjects.
Yeah.
And then they had to be somewhat divided up. Is that going to be the same way as this year?
So we're trying to do, so what Charles is referring to is, historically what we do is in the budget, we say, council, you have X dollars that are your discretionary dollars to spend. And then when committees and commissions came to them, they would decide how to divvy up that money amongst the committees and commissions. I'm hoping to do a more front-loaded process where we figure out how much committees and commissions are wanting, to figure out how to put that in the budget, plus a little extra so that as things come up throughout the year, there's more flexibility. So that's why we're shifting it a little earlier than I think you would have done in previous years.
Okay, so the estimate that we sent is really the point we're trying to determine how much that fund is, how much.
Yeah, how much to set aside.
So would there be that small buffer that we talked about, like, for example, you know, I just emailed 3 of our committees or commissions about an event this month, or we're not fighting, so April. And that would give us time to put in a request, you know, to vote on it, it's coming meeting, it's on Monday, and then put in a request for a budget to get supplies, to have a table, to take department stuff for kids or whatever. So is that like that there would be buffer in there that we have the liberty to vote on or use just in our own meetings? Like we voted to do that, to have a table there to do our things with kids. That we got like that $500 or whatever put in there each year that we could use as like this discretionary filler for just kind of last minute things.
I think that's a great idea for your budget request this year. If you're preparing something for June, include that, you know, general supplies for running art tables at community events, and have that be part of your request.
But to that point, there's also the ad hoc request. And if you ever find yourself running up against a deadline and your meeting isn't going to make it, call a special meeting and bring your group together. If it's important enough, call a special meeting and bring everybody together to have the discussion and ask for the ad hoc funding.
Yeah. But tell Hector you're having that special meeting so we can notice it.
Yeah, it's the same process. Oh, you guys probably don't notify, you just automatically notify the scheduled meetings, right? Is that how that works? Yeah, so you'd have to make a special point of sending it or an email. How much time do you need?
Or your meeting law is 48 hours.
So you,
Well, for a special meeting.
for you to prepare to notice a special meeting, how soon would you like to hear from the chair?
At least 2 days in advance, but I think for a special meeting, we need 24 hours notice.
And this is just a website, or do you have to work and you have to get things on paper?
I'm sorry, Counselor?
For notice, you just have to put it on the website, or do you have to
I noticed council meetings to 5 bulletin boards and one talented for the committees and commissions, and notice on the website and social media.
Okay.
But you would encourage people to give you more notice than that,
Absolutely.
like 4, 5 days, 7 days, something like that. Yeah.
So prepare your 2023 meetings and send them to me.
Yeah. You know, and a caveat I want to say too, just for staff, we are here to help, but we also get a lot coming in the door every day. So the sooner that we can know of something, you know, the more likely that we can give you a timely response. Hector and I haven't in the competition yet of who gets more emails a day, but it is its own job just to go through our inboxes. So early communication works best for us. No apologies. This is what this is for.
Well, you guys are very active in
Okay, so when you give your budget, you know, May, June, and we're also listing like events and things we're planning to do, like if we, like you said, we're planning to do our walk, or planning to do our tickets, or you know, whatever it is. So is that then also already in our plan for the year, like when we talk goals, things, so we don't need to like vote in a meeting to do our Dodo kits in the next fiscal year, because it's already in the budget and stuff that we want to do. We don't have to
Ask again.
We don't have to vote to do our walks because we voted to do it. But we do have to send those. Is that a separate recommendation? So normally if it was like the middle of the year and we were wanting to host an event at the CI, we would like recommend to city council that we want to host an event. If we're doing it on the budget thing, or we're listing our events and we're listing budget, is that a comprehensive ask, I guess is what I'm saying, or are we having to ask throughout the year when we do each of those events that we listed?
You know, I'm gonna let the mayor override me on this. I'll tell you, you know, what staff does is if we have in the budget that we're gonna do something, you know, to us it's the go ahead that we're gonna do that thing. So if we have in the budget to buy 50,000 water meters, we buy 50,000 water meters without going in front of council again, because they approved those 50,000 in the budget. So I would lean of if you present your plan to council along with your budget and they approve the budget as it relates to the plan, I think you're good to go. If it comes to a point where we end up not doing a project that you budgeted for, you know, you will have to come to council to ask for a change in the use of the funds.
That's very appropriate. But do you also then maybe like a description right up of the events or project? Does that make
Ooh, that's a good
sense?
question. I'm gonna throw this one to the mayor.
So there needs to be a sufficient level of detail for us to understand how the resources are being allocated. And I can say that some resources have been, Charles just described it a moment ago, have not been allocated or have been diminished a great deal because of a lack of clarity about how they were going to be used. And I've been on the budget committee many, many times over the years, and I would always advocate for more information, not less. And I am one of those who says, you know, there's a whole bunch of money in here where we have no clarity on how it's going to be used, so how can we approve it? Kind of, that's the arguments that I usually make. So her answer is correct. The risk you run is not having to come back several times. The risk you run is not getting it passed in the first place if there's not sufficient detail. But once it's passed, once you have the resources, that's really our only function is to provide you with the resources. And then it's up to you.
Great question. You know, I'd say for this round, because this is a new process, use whatever you're most comfortable with as a chair to lead with your crew. I will then work with you to translate it into a more standardized form for presenting to council when it's ready. So, long story, do whatever is best for you. I want to say for the budgeting though, while more detail is always better, I don't want you all, because I know we have folks that are very detailed here, something like saying, you know, I want to run 3 art walk events in the summer, and those art walk events are going to include, you know, paying local artists, commissioning local artists, a food truck, and this is enough detail. You don't have to say it's going to occur on April 9th at 10 p.m. You know, you don't need to have the plan details. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I mean, if you want to, you're welcome to, but I want to, if you want to, then we'll take it, but I don't want to put,
And we'll be the ones going, oh my God, did you get that report? I'm not reading it. Are you reading it?
oh, Hopper's report.
Just give her the money for crying out loud.
More information.
So we could summarize it in the front end and then give you as much detail as you want in the back end. So then if you have questions, it's there.
Yep.
And so it doesn't get declined and then you're waiting a whole other.
I've never seen a summary get declined. I have seen, we want to do our projects or something like that. Yeah, it was not her. It was not her. Yes, it was before her time. But I have seen, actually, it was, there were, somebody who wanted to do a series of events. There was no detail. I mean, there was no summary. And so it was just like, yeah, no.
I just want to say that the other really important reason to keep council informed is like much of our job is to go out there and brag that, these are the things that we brag about. These are the things that people get excited about, that show progress, that they're tangible, that help the morale of the town and get other people involved, or get council scheme all over. And also help us look good to the state and other places to get more money, more attention at the meeting. So that's why we want to market us, make sure we're really roped in and sure that we're on.
Yeah. And you're done with doing. Of course, this is what we're here for. And I do want to do a time check, because I did promise you all just a 7:30, and we're now at 7:35. So I might move along, and if more questions come up, we're here to help. I will say, Councilor Byers, you're now on the Parks Liaison, is that right? Donna, you have a really good partner in Councilor Byers. She is very good at knowing estimates and level of detail needed.
Thank you.
Councilor Clark is too as well.
Also, I was just realizing my watch was an hour behind. Not that I was like, oh my God.
No, it was a good reminder to me to look. As we learned tonight, everything we do, when you're in doubt, please just ask. Ask your liaison. You're always welcome to ask me. Chelsea is here, and she went from knowing zero about commissions and committees to knowing more than any of us, and so she's a great resource. Hector and I usually will probably just go ask Chelsea. We can always ask us.
I asked her for questions, for answers now, so.
Yeah, Chelsea's our go-to.
And also, she's a great parliamentarian, but I also have a command of the rules, so I'm always open to any type of conversation with any of the chairs about technical aspects of running meetings.
Exactly. And for this next section, we were going to do a little thing about planning what is ahead to start shaping these spaces more. For the sake of time, I'm going to just shift us to those individual conversations we'll have with you all. But I am going to ask for a wrap up on the green sheets in front of you. If you all can flip them over. And to close tonight, because this will help us prepare, I want you to answer question number 1. And then I want you to answer question number 3. So 1 is, at this moment in time, how capable do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being, who am I? Who is this beautiful crowd of people? 10 being, I could rule the world. And then 3 is, what areas would you like the most support in your role as liaison chair? Are there topics that you want to learn more about? Are there skills, etc.? List those if they pop into your head. I'm asking.
On the other side?
No, you don't have to.
We're on someone else's paper.
Yep, totally fine. This is all anonymous.
Okay, all right. So when you see mine all scribbled out and scratched out so you can't tell what name it is, you'll know what you mean.
I know, it's hard when you're in a small group. And then when you're done writing, I want you to crumple up your paper into a ball and show us your basketball skills. into the box. Is it still there? Into the box in the middle of the room.
Two for two. That was a long shot. Yeah, that was a long shot.
And Mayor, I'll go ahead and have you officially adjourn the meeting.
Yeah. So with that, if there's nothing else, no other questions, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:39. And I want to invite everybody that if you have any topics for future summit agendas to email.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to look at all your answers, and then Chelsea will do a follow-up.
I think on the next agenda, we had considered media and social media. Consider discuss that. We're looking into that area.
You mean how to utilize it to empower the group? Yes.
And also to recommend
Thinking about it.
the fact that like any communication that's done as a committee or commission is public record.
Yeah.
So like making sure that like if the social media page is started, it's done through a route that the city would like to continue because it belongs.
A little meetings law training.
Yeah, like just the process for getting that started and engagement and then maybe using the lack of better than branding that we choose for the language going out as all same communications.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're working on getting you guys some emails so that you have official City of Talent email. So public records, we can just use that email. 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 We can just use that email.